save.
Now you're going to get a shot here.
Final seconds. Bryant for the win.
Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. Guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about a good amount of players that hold a substantial amount of value in fantasy basketball. Some of these players are all NBA players. Some of these guys are at the very top of the league and some of the best talents in the NBA. But what I'm attempting to do in this video is I'm attempting to view the guys that are those premier elite talents in the NBA where their fantasy value may not line up with their talent level going forward. So what you can do is you can cash out and you can make a profit in your expected fantasy points over the long haul. So I know I'm going to upset some people with this video. I know not everybody is going to enjoy watching it, but I'm not trying to make videos that everybody loves watching. I'm trying to make videos that are going to help y'all with your fantasy basketball rosters. And I hope I was able to do that with this video. But more importantly, I want to give you all this small piece of news that next video tomorrow is going to be one where I break down your trade questions. So please leave those in the comment section below. And I'm going to try to do my best to get to as many as I can in that video tomorrow. And just make sure you're dropping a like, make sure you're subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell next to the subscribe button. That way you are notified whenever that video goes live. And if you can, go down to the comment section and answer some questions on your own. Because the reason that we are the fantasy basketball flock is we are all in this together, trying to improve our teams together to take down our league mates. But thank you guys, that's all I got, and let's get into the video. And let's start it off with one of my favorite basketball players of all time, one of the best basketball players in the NBA. In my opinion, the only better player in the past 10 years has been LeBron James, and this is going to be Kevin Durant. Okay guys, I understand Kevin Durant right now looks like a superb value compared to where you drafted him in your fantasy basketball league. I know a lot of people, including myself, were a little skeptical with what kind of athleticism he was going to provide coming back from that torn Achilles, but he looks like prime Kevin Durant. I know some people want to say he can't create separation between his shot like he was able to prior, but no, I don't see that. I look at Kevin Durant and he looks like the same exact playmaker. And right now, I mean, he's been seeing a good amount of minutes in the rotation, seeing about 35 minutes a game. I mean, ridiculous stats beyond that. 30 points a game, 54% from the field, 48% from three, 7 rebounds, 6 assists a game. We also know with Kevin Durant, he is giving you defensive statistics to go along with this. And we know the free throw percentage is going to be sky high for everyone in those category leagues. But the problem is we have Kyrie Irving coming back to this rotation. The problem is we are inserting James Harden back into this rotation. And what that is going to do is that's going to lead to less possessions with Kevin Durant seeing the ball. And I understand this Nets offense should be putting up a ridiculous amount of points every single game, as I think this is the best offensive team in the entire NBA day one as soon as they have their 3 stars. I'm not going to talk about their defense because really that does not matter for fantasy basketball. But I am just looking at Kevin Durant and I am looking at the name value that you're going to be able to get in trade, the lack of usage that he's going to have going forward compared to what he's had so far with 2 star players being inserted into the rotation. I know his efficiency is going to maintain that very high mark, especially with opposing teams having to give a little bit more credit to the players around him in James Harden and Kyrie Irving. But he's going to be taking less shots, and I think he is going to be seeing less assists at the same time. Now, our next player is going to be on that same team. This is going to be Kyrie Irving. Now, I know with Kyrie, you are not selling him high. You are going to be selling him low, as so many people are looking at this as a player that they don't know what to expect. I will be 100% transparent right now. I am recording this halfway through the Nets game where Kyrie is making his return. So I don't necessarily know exactly what his final stats are going to be at the end of this game. But I'm just going to make this same exact argument that I made with Kevin Durant earlier. We know Kyrie Irving is also not a player that's going to play every single game for the Brooklyn Nets down the road. And, I mean, he is not even seeing that elite level usage in the rotation before we had James Harden inserted into this team. I mean, he was seeing 27 points, 50% from the field, 42% from three, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. So with Kyrie Irving, I think that it's just going to be a question on how many times is he going to be able to get his shot up? What are we going to be expecting in terms of just his usage in the rotation? I think it's going to be slightly down. I mean, for all these players, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, I know it's very exciting that they all get to play together. I think we can safely say now with this talent level in the rotation that the Brooklyn Nets are the favorite for the East. But we're talking fantasy basketball here. We are looking at how many shots these players are going to be able to put up. We are looking at how many possessions they're going to have the ball in their hands and how long they can afford to have the ball in their hands. And here with Kyrie, with Kevin Durant, and with James Harden, I mean, these are players that I would love to see what kind of price point I can get in selling them away. Possibly pick up a player like Devin Booker or like a Trae Young that we talked about on our buy low video. Specifically, Trae Young, Devin Booker, I'm not too excited about. But someone that's going to have that elite level usage regardless of the rest of the year in their rotation. Even if they are not as good as an NBA player, they should be seeing better fantasy statistics. All right. So now our next player is going to be someone that has taken a massive leap. I mean, he is someone that Boston Celtics fans are going to be screaming at me for even saying this. And this is going to be Jaylen Brown. Okay, so with Jaylen Brown, I understand, guys. I mean, he looks like he is becoming an all-NBA player. He looks like he is taking that lead up to being an elite playmaker for the Boston Celtics. But we have Kemba Walker coming back. And very similar to the Kevin Durant situation with adding James Harden and Kyrie Irving in, I think we're going to see the usage for Jaylen Brown slightly go down. And also, if you look at where he is taking his shots and the percentage of those shots going in, right now he is taking way too many mid-range shots. And the reason that he's getting away with this, the reason why it's been fantastic up until this point, is because he's leading in the NBA in mid-range field goal percentage. That's not something that can maintain at that high of a clip through the course of the entire season. So that's going to regress. The usage is going to slightly go down. I mean, this is a player right now has 35 minutes a game, 26 points, over 53% from the field, over 40% from three, 6 rebounds, 4 assists a game as well. I mean, here with Jaylen Brown, I know he's exciting. I know he looks like one of the young studs at the NBA level, but I would like to see what we could get for him in trade. Okay, now sticking with players that have started the season off so hot, especially shooting the basketball, we are going to go to someone else that people are going to scream at me about, but this is going to be Paul George. Now, the thought process behind this sell is that when we are looking at Paul George, he currently has a three-point percentage that is higher than his field goal percentage. I mean, he is shooting 51, 52% from beyond the arc. And that is just not something that can maintain. I know that everybody is going to hate to hear this. I know everybody is also going to agree with it because you have a brain. I mean, this is not rocket science here. You look at Paul George averaging 25 points a game. You look at over half of his three-point shots going in, and he's shooting those shots at volume. I think that we are just going to expect some of those shots to bounce out. We know that Paul George has been a player throughout his entire career to have very hot stretches as well as very cold stretches. And I think if we are going to be having anybody view Paul George as someone that is just in the top tier of fantasy basketball options, I mean, he is a player that I would consider moving on from. I mean, the Clippers are so hot at the moment. I know that everybody really in Los Angeles is shooting at a very high clip. I love the way that their team is moving on the court, but this is just completely unsustainable from Paul George. Okay. So now our next player is going to be the first player that I know I'm not going to get yelled at for, and this is going to be Andre Drummond. Okay, so with Andre Drummond, I mean, this is pretty obvious. I probably should have started it off with him just because I know people are going to hear Kevin Durant, they're going to hear Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, and they're going to be pulling their hair out just because they're saying, Mason, you idiot, these are stars, these are players that you build your team around. And then they're going to hear Andre Drummond and go, okay, I see it. Just because that's what happens when you try to take guys who are just casual fans of the NBA and try to really talk through fantasy projections going forward with usage in rotations. But here with Andre Drummond, I mean, it's very simple. Jarrett Allen is coming in, and Drummond has been one of the best fantasy options at the center position through the start of the season. I mean, a ridiculous 16 rebounds a game, a ridiculous almost 2 steals and over a block and a half. I mean, 47% from the field, 19 points a game, The problem is Jared Allen is going to be the future there for Cleveland. Andre Drummond, while he is the veteran presence right now, is going to see his minutes scaled back. I mean, those rebounds, those points, those steals, those blocks are all going to be going down. Now, while I applaud the man for having such a fantastic start to the season, I mean, it just sucks that they have so many bigs in Cleveland right now that Andre Drummond just cannot maintain this amount of minutes every single night. All right, so now our next player is going to be someone that I get yelled at again for, and this is going to be a very common trend. Me telling you to sell these big name players that are currently not living up to their name in fantasy basketball. This is going to be Zion Williamson. So I know, guys, the talk around the NBA right now is Zion taking that next step. Zion has looked so good specifically the past few games, but if you're playing in a category league right now, I mean, Zion Williamson is completely killing you. Obviously, we know Zion is never going to be a big three-point guy, but he's literally given you no threes so far through 2020, which I guess you could say, Mason, that's expected. We didn't expect Zion to really provide us anything in that category, and he can get away with it with his position. But what he can't get away with his position is only 64% from the free throw line. In category leagues, that is just 100% tanking you in that spot. And also, 8 rebounds a game. I mean, clearly you were looking more from that from your big men, and less than half a block a game. So while Zion looks great, scoring his 23 points at a 60% efficiency mark from the field, I mean, no three-pointers, horrible efficiency from the line, very little rebounds, obviously no assists, less than 2 assists a game, less than half a block a game. I mean, Zion is hurting you in way more categories than he is helping you. And I know he's fun to watch. I know he has some plays that really nobody else at the NBA level could do. But still, with Zion Williamson, I mean, the common NBA fan would just naturally assume that he holds a substantial amount of fantasy value. But this is exactly why we are avoiding him in fantasy drafts in 2020, is because there's no threes. He's tanking you in the three-point category, free throw category, assist category, and block category. And you can make the argument with rebounds. I mean, what do you want with Zion? I mean, you can find 23 points a game somewhere else if it's going to come with these other statistics. All right. So now our last player that we're going to talk about is someone that is another player, very talented. I mean, y'all can see the common theme in this video. I know this is why we're going to get a ton of hate, but I'm trying to help people. I'm not trying to get a lot of love. This is going to be Donovan Mitchell. Okay, so right here with Donovan Mitchell, I mean, he's averaging 34 minutes a game, 23 points, but the efficiency, 42% from the field. You hate to see it. At the same time, 38% from three, so I think that number is going to maintain throughout the course of the season, but only 3.7 rebounds per game. I mean, this is kind of pitiful. 5 assists a game, I guess you're not going to argue that that is too poor, but this is another example of the name value being a lot higher than his real-life fantasy production, so it's another example of a player that I would look to sell. Now, thank you guys. I know that y'all did not enjoy this video. I know that me talking about these sell-high candidates is always going to ruffle some feathers, but I'm trying to help. I'm not trying to just amount a large following. So here, I hope that's what I was able to do. I hope this video was able to help you regardless of if you liked it or not. And that's it. I hope y'all decide to go down there and drop a like on the video, as well as leave me that comment for your trade question in the future. But thank y'all so much, guys, and I hope to see y'all with the video tomorrow.